I read that at the Republican convention, he called me a radical. So I guess that's one difference between us. And yeah, I am a radical. I do believe that we need to get radical about what we are doing and take it seriously.
And that's Vice President Kamala Harris back in 2010 on her political ideology while running for California Attorney General. Now Harris and the Democrats are attempting to distance her from the many far-left political positions that she's had, amidst expectations that she will announce her running mate within the next 2 days. We are expecting the announcement any moment now, ahead of Tuesday, when she'll campaign with that person. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the Republican vice presidential nominee, Senator JD Vance. Senator, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Maria.
I want to get to Kamala Harris and her running mate in a moment, but first I want to talk about you because you've got a lot of people talking about you on both the Democrat side and the Republican side. You've heard the chatter. They're saying, some people are saying you were the wrong pick for Trump's running mate. What are you doing about it?
Well, Maria, all I can do is go out there and prosecute the case against Kamala Harris and remind people that things were more prosperous and more peaceful when Donald Trump was president. Look, I recognize that there are a lot of folks, even in the GOP establishment, and certainly on the far left, who don't like the fact that Donald Trump picked me. I actually take their criticism as a badge of honor. Of course, the media is going to attack the people they fear the most. The media is going to attack the people I think who can most effectively bring President Trump's message to a broader swath of the electorate. And I don't come from inside the Beltway, Maria. You know, I grew up as a poor kid. I didn't come from a political family or a wealthy family. I worked my way through college, through the Marine Corps, and eventually landed as Donald Trump's running mate. I think that's a story that a lot of normal Americans can empathize with. I'm not shocked that a lot of inside the Beltway media types don't like me, but their policies are the problem. Of course they don't like me because we're running to fix what they have broken.
Fair enough. And I guess the Democrats see all of that as weird. What do you say about this new strategy to call you weird from the Democrats?
I think that it's a lot of projection, frankly, Maria, from people who want to give transgender hormones to 9-year-old kids and want biological males to play in women's sports. Look, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm happily married, and I love my life, and I'm doing this because I want to be a good public servant who fixes the problems of the Democrats. They can call me whatever they want to. The middle school taunts don't bother me. What bothers me and what offends me is what Kamala Harris has done to this country over 3.5 years. She's opened up the American southern border. She cast the deciding vote on things that caused skyrocketing inflation and affordability crisis. I mean, I was in Georgia yesterday. They have a terrible housing affordability problem in the state of Georgia, Maria, because Kamala Harris shot interest rates through the roof, and then she welcomed in millions of illegal aliens to compete with Americans for scarce homes. So I don't care what they call me. I just wish they would stop screwing up the country. And because I don't think they're able to do that themselves, President Trump and I are going to beat them in November.
Well, look, Kamala Harris was asked about one of the most important issues facing America, and that is inflation. Back when she was signing these bills and making the breaking tie vote, making the breaking tie vote for some of this. And I want to play a soundbite of what she said about inflation, because we just walked through President Trump's economic policy proposals. Here's Kamala Harris in 2021 when asked about inflation. Watch.
Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up. Families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously.
Obviously, that was a non-answer. She did not answer the question. Senator, I'd like to know from your standpoint how your policies, which Trump just laid out on the economic side, differ from Kamala Harris's.
Well, first of all, Maria, how can you not laugh at that? She sounds like a third grader giving a book report on a book that she hasn't even read. No, none of that makes any sense. And the simple policy difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is we want to open up American energy markets, which will lower the cost of fuel, lower the cost of food, and lower the cost of a whole host of things that people rely on. That will drive down interest rates. And then we want to kick out millions of illegal aliens who shouldn't be in this country, which will lower the price of homes for American citizens. It's actually very simple, Maria. A lot of their economic policies were predicted even by economists on the left to lead exactly where they are now. They went ahead with it because, as Kamala Harris has said, she is a radical who didn't listen to common sense. The American people are now suffering, but the good news is, if we have better leadership, Maria, we can actually get hold of this inflation problem pretty straightforwardly. The other thing that Maria, that Kamala just seems to have no real compassion or understanding for is that the worst inflation is in the price of groceries. Americans cannot afford to put the same kind of food on the table they could when Donald Trump was president. That is an unbelievable tragedy. No American family should be worried about putting food on the table, and yet going to the grocery has become a source of stress for middle-class Americans all across our country. Donald Trump and I just want people who work hard and play by the rules to have a good life. We don't want to give Medicare to illegal aliens. We don't want illegal aliens to take advantage of our system. We want the American economy to work for hardworking Americans. That's what it's all about. It's a very simple difference, and I think the American people know that.
You know, President Trump walked us through using the energy sector as the first place to tackle inflation, because when you, in fact, drill and put more oil on the market, you could actually sell it to Europe, and then more oil on the market will bring prices down. But he also talked about it as a national security issue. I want to get your take on this, because Jamie Dimon, the chairman and CEO of J.P. Morgan, wrote an op-ed this week, and he, too, mentioned the fact that it would be irresponsible not to actually have drilling. Let's show that op-ed here, which Jamie Dimon talked about. He says, when our allies are fighting wars to defend their sovereignty and democracies and desperately need secure and reliable energy sources, Jamie Dimon writes in this op-ed, he goes on to say it is irresponsible not to have the oil. Delaying long-term liquid natural gas projects in Louisiana and Texas is misguided and self-defeating. It is bad for the environment and the economy, and it is bad for our allies. So even a centrist and a Democrat, Jamie Dimon, businessman, is out with this, talking about the opportunity that America has. But today, Kamala Harris said her aides are pushing out this messaging saying, no, she's not against fracking. So which is it? She said she is against fracking. She told CNN, there's no question I'm going to ban fracking. But recently, her aides have said that's not the case.
Well, she said she wanted to ban fracking and also ban offshore drilling, Maria. Of course, Kamala Harris hasn't answered a media question in 14 days since becoming the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party, which, by the way, is a scandal all its own. If you want to lead this country, you should have to stand before the press, the free press, and answer questions, sometimes hostile questions, as President Trump and I have. But look, we know that the source of their environmental policies, the source of their energy policies, is this crazy idea that if we ship more and more manufacturing and more energy production to China, that's somehow going to be good for the environment and good for the American consumer. It doesn't make an ounce of sense, Maria. If you do more in China, China is the dirtiest economy in the entire world. If you do more in America, you help the environment. You also lower the cost of goods for American citizens. It is a win-win to manufacture and drill more in the United States of America. Kamala Harris's policies don't make environmental sense. They don't make basic economic sense. But she has been on the record defending them for years, again, because she is a radical. This is who she is. And as much as her aides are running from her record, Kamala Harris, at the least, should stand before the American people and answer some tough questions.
Who do you believe will be her running mate? And are you prepared to go head-to-head against that person? I'll ask you what I asked President Trump. Josh Shapiro is a finalist. He's the governor of Pennsylvania. Does that help her? Does that take votes away from you? And what about Mark Kelly in Arizona? Does that help her at the border? Does that take votes away from you?
I think whoever she chooses, the problem is going to be Kamala Harris's record and Kamala Harris's policies. The American people are suffering because Kamala Harris keeps on making bad decisions. I don't really care who she chooses as a running mate. It's not going to be good for the country. And we're ready, meaning President Trump and I are ready to take the case to the American people that Donald Trump delivered peace. He delivered prosperity. Kamala Harris has delivered an open border and skyrocketing inflation. It's really just not a hard argument to make, but we're going to make it as aggressively and persuasively as we can to the American people for about the next 95 or so days.
Senator, President Trump continues to say that the 2020 election was stolen. He told me that again in this interview. How comfortable are you in terms of the progress being made by the RNC and Republican states that, in fact, we will have a fair election in November?
Well, I think we're making a lot of progress, Maria. I mean, look, Georgia passed a mandatory voter ID law. I think that makes Georgia's elections much more secure. I think that we've got some good court cases, some good legal changes going all across the country. The RNC has been more aggressive about this in 2024 than they have been in 2020. And remember, Maria, the basic principle here is every American citizen's vote should count. But if you're not an American citizen and you're not casting a legal ballot, your vote shouldn't count, right? It's sort of common sense that the Republican Party believes in. And interestingly, the Democrats seem to want illegal aliens to have the right to vote. I think that we've been successful at pushing back against this stuff, but there's still a lot of work to do. But yes, I'm very confident, Maria, 2024 is going to be a better election than 2020, and I think Donald Trump and I are going to win.
Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for answering the questions voters have. We so appreciate your time.